So welcome to my second video in this series of how to do impactful PowerPoint presentations. I do a lot of seminars on how to do excellent presentations, not always with the focus on PowerPoint, but I do find when I get to the PowerPoint side, some of it can get quite technical. So I'm doing some instructional videos to help with the technical side of doing a great PowerPoint to complement my seminars for a lot of my clients. So this is part two. Part one was on how to do really impactful bullets, text bullets. And now this one is going to complement that by talking about how we can use your images. So welcome to this presentation. Assumes you have some basic PowerPoint training, including adding slides, creating bullets, text bullets, inserting shapes and images, hopefully some animations, whether they're bullet or picture, but we will be covering that quite extensively today, and slide transitions, although probably my third video will be on how to really effectively use this new transition called Morph. It's really quite cool. And I apologize if I repeat a lot of my talking points from the first one. I have to recognize that some people may not have watched the first one and are only interested in the second one. So if I get a little repetitive, I apologize ahead of time. So I always start my seminars, and I started these instructional videos by putting up a slide like this and saying, what's the problem with this slide? And of course the answer is right in the body of the slide itself. I mean, when you put all of your bullets up there at once, you're kind of overwhelming the viewer. They start to try and read them all. Some of them read them quickly, some slowly, so that everyone's at a different pace. But the major point is they're no longer focusing on you. They're trying to absorb this slide. So, and of course, the speaker really needs to be the focus of the presentation, right? Slides are only meant to be there for support and emphasis. So, you put up a busy slide like this with all the bullets at once. They're trying to read them all. They're no longer listening to me or to you as the speaker. They also don't know which line to focus on. So this really is a bad practice, and I do see this a lot. An alternative to that, which is much more effective, which has been the foundation for the first video on how to really strategically use your text bullets, and this video too, how to strategically really use your images. If you look at this slide, you can see how much better and more impactful it is, and how much more control you have as a speaker. So here, we're only bringing up one bullet at a time, and we're speaking to that talking point as we go. If you do this, obviously the audience can't read ahead. And you'll notice in this presentation that the preceding bullet, as I change to one bullet, the preceding bullet is changing in color. It's kind of fading into the background. So the new bullet is the one that has a real high contrast color that people are going to focus on, and the previous bullet isn't taken off the screen entirely, but it's much more subtle. It's sort of faded into the background with a color that's kind of close to your slide background. So when you're only bringing up one bullet at a time, and you're allowing people to really focus on it with a high contrast color font, then you're leading them down your train of thought. And so they'll only focus on one thought at a time. And by focusing on one thought at a time and only having to stay on the slide for a short period of time, they can focus on you better and more, which means they're obviously going to listen better. So the purpose of the bullet is just a bit of a prompt and a visual support, but really you can elaborate on each point as you go. You don't have to cram everything that you want to say into your slide. And as you'll notice here, I've been using visuals to complement each speaking point. which is another very impactful way to make your point. What's that old adage? A picture says 1,000 words. So in video 1, we concentrated on the bullets. In video 2, we're going to concentrate on the images. So here's another example where as the bullet comes on, a complementary image will come on, and then as the next bullet comes up, the previous image exits. And we're linking an image to a specific bullet. This gives you complete control over your presentation in terms of the point you want to make at each stage of your presentation. So in this video, we're going to learn how to manage not so much your bullets in this one as your images. We definitely will be spending time on animations. The first one we concentrated on entrance and emphasis. In this one, we're going to concentrate on entrance and exit. And in the first one, we did spend a lot of time working in the animation pane. Now that we're working with images, we're also going to introduce you to the selection pane. The selection pane and the animation pane really are your best friends in terms of managing image animations. And then in the animation pane, we're going to start to control the timing and the order of our animations, so that if we want an image to come up at the same time as a bullet, we need to spend time coordinating that. So I want to show you one more example of how you can actually use only images on a slide to make to communicate your talking points. So here's an example of one that is all text. This is the benefits of e-commerce. E-commerce gives you access to consumers all over the world, and you never have to close. You're open 365 days a year, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, even including holidays. It's also really convenient for shoppers to shop from home, and you're going to have lower operating costs. You don't have to pay high rent, don't have to pay a lot of staff costs, and you can offer new products and promotions fast. In the digital world, as soon as it's posted, it's available. And you don't have worries about handling cash like a convenience store or gas station that's open till 2 in the morning. So that's a way that all of those teaching points can be communicated by text. Here's an alternative where it's communicated completely with images. So one of the benefits of e-commerce is that you have global reach. You can reach consumers all around the world. You're open 365 days a year, 24/7. It's very convenient for consumers to shop from home, and you'll have lower costs. You don't have to pay high rent and excessive payroll costs. You'll sell online. It's also fast. New products and promotions are, as soon as they're posted in the digital world, they're immediately available. And you don't have any hassles of handling cash like a gas station or convenience store would at 2 in the morning. So that's an example of how you can use images only to communicate your key points. And I don't know about you, but I find this much more dynamic, creative, impactful, effective. As I said before, a picture says 1,000 words. So that's another reason why images can be an important part of your presentation. So now we're going to look at entering and exiting images like this example here. Okay, we've got 3 simple images, 1, 2, 3, and we're going to start with images only. We're not even going to worry about coordinating with text yet. Okay, so I'm just going to close this little window. So here's our animation pane, and just to do a quick review for the people who didn't watch video 1. So when we're doing our animations, I'm going to remove all these so we can start fresh. When we're doing our animations, this is our ribbon for PowerPoint. we have a tab called Animations. And once we decide what we want to animate, we see lots of options here. And you can find more options by either scrolling down here, or this More button opens up a huge window of all of your animations, whether it's entrance, emphasis, or if you scroll down later, we'll also be using exit very soon, actually. So, and your animation pane is found here. So right now it's turned off, it's closed. If I click that, you'll see that it's now open. The animation pane itself is empty because we're starting with a clean slate. Now, here's, before we actually start animating, I want to make an important point about the pictures. So let's say I click all three of these at once and I give them a basic fade animation. Well, you can see that they might have odd names. You know, if you take a picture in your camera, it's usually assigned some random number, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever. You know, it's never a clean name like Day at the Beach. So, and it can be confusing. If you see up here, these are called Picture 5, Image 1, Shape 8. And that can be confusing when you're trying to coordinate all of these animations. I've had some slides where I've had 12 to 15 pictures on one slide. And again, you shouldn't think that that's overwhelming. I've used them very carefully, and if there's ever 12 to 15 on the screen at once, it's because I've had an important strategic reason. So anyway, let's sort out this problem of these images or pictures having odd names. This is where I said before your selection pane and your animation pane are going to be your two best friends. So we're going to go to the selection pane, which if you go to your Home tab, find your editing options. Every toolbar might look a little bit different, but find your editing options. Here you can see Select. And under my select options, there's something called a selection pane. We want to select that. And here we can actually change the names of our pictures. So if I click this first image, 1, right now it's called Picture 5. I'm going to double click that, and I'm going to change this number 1. So it's much easier for me to recognize what that picture is. If I click the 2, its present name is just image. I'm going to double click that. We'll call it number 2. And then my third one here is called Shape 8. Guess what I'm going to call it? Number 3. So now we've renamed our images, so it's going to be much easier to remember or recognize what pictures we're manipulating when we're reordering or deciding what the timing of them should be. Okay, so that's the selection pane. So I'm going to go back to animations, and we're going to go through this very methodically. I want to close the selection pane. Make sure my animation pane is open. I'll remove these so we can start from scratch, although you can already see that they have the proper numbers now, number 1, 2, and 3. I'm just going to remove those so we can start with a clean slate. Okay, so what we're going to do now is what you saw a minute ago. We're going to build up to the point where as an image comes on, another image leaves. We're not even coordinating with text bullets yet. We're just working with images. So you can do this in any order you want. For the sake of teaching, I'm going to do these one at a time. So if you remember from my first video, I use fly in a lot. You'll see the effect I'm building towards in a minute. And with every animation, or most animations, you can change some of the effect options. So in this case, I want the image to enter from the left. Okay, saw a little preview of that. I'll do the same in image 2 from the left. I'm sure there are many of you out there saying, hey Dave, why didn't you just do all 3 at once? I could have, but for the sake of keeping this, I don't want to assume that a lot of people know everything. I'm going to do them one at a time. So you'll see up here, I have, and of course the animation pane. Again, I want to review some things in case you didn't see video 1. The animation pane can be made smaller or larger by grabbing the side and making it smaller or larger. One of the benefits of making it larger is when it's tight like this, you can't see some recognizable icons like that mouse click. If I make it a little bit bigger, there we go. You can see a mouse icon here beside the animations. And that basically means that they are going to animate on click. When I click my mouse, it won't do anything until it gets a command from my mouse. So all 3 right now are set to go on click. We can do a quick little test of that. Click my mouse, there's number 1. Click my mouse, there's number 2. Click my mouse, there's number 3. I'm going to leave that. Now we want to add exit animations so that as one leaves, another one appears on the screen. So again, I could hold down my Control and my Shift key and select multiple images and assign an animation all at once. I'm going to do them individually. So the key point here is when you're adding multiple animations to one image, or bullet for that matter, you have to go to this button called Add Animation. If I simply went here, scrolled down to Exit, and picked one of these exit animations, it would replace my first one. It would delete it. So I would lose that work I did building my entrance animations. So I have to go to add another animation. So I'm going to click Add Animation. I'm going to go down to Fly Out. And this time I want it to fly to the right. Okay. And again, I'm gonna rinse and repeat. I'm gonna do it for the others. Add animation. And the reason I'm doing it this way is for you to see it multiple times so that you understand it. I added that exit animation, and I want it to go to the right. And number 3, I will do the same. I'm going to add an exit animation called Fly Out, and I want it to go to the right as well. Okay, so let's review what we've accomplished. Here's our animation pane. We have 3 entrance animations in a row. Then we have 3 exit animations in a row. So we'll demonstrate that, but that ultimately is not what we're going to want. But we're getting there in stage. We're going to walk before we run. So first entrance, second entrance, third entrance, first exit, second exit, third exit. So it's doing exactly what we told it so far. It's following its instructions here in the animation pane. But we want to change the order so that, say, when number 2 comes on, number 1 leaves. So to change the order, I'm going to grab the exit animation for number 1, and I'm going to drag it up under number 2. I could put it in front of number 2. I just have to be careful of which is my animation to start on click and which is the one to start with previous. We'll get to that in a minute. And so number 2 already follows number 3, so that's not bad. So let's look at how we change the order. We're getting closer and closer to our ultimate objective, but we're doing it in stages. So 1 comes on, 2 comes on, 1 should leave based on my next click, and it does. Number 3 will come on, number 2 should leave on my next click, and then number 3 will leave. So now we have the order correct, but now we want a few things to happen simultaneously. That's where we use the with previous animation. So let me review that. So if you look at your animation pane over here, you'll also see shortcuts to what the commands are up here. So if I click animation number 1, you can see that it's going to start on click. I can also see or change that here with this click over here. You'll see your options are start and click, start with previous, or start after previous. You can also remove. We'll remove one later just for a little bit of practice. So what we want now to make things happen simultaneously or concurrently, we want to use start with previous. Start with previous means when the animation ahead of it happens, it will happen at the same time. So we want number 1 exit here to start with previous. So we have now told number 1 to leave when number 2 comes on. Let's test that. Number 1 comes on. So with my next click, 2 should come on and 1 should leave. And it does. We haven't finished it. We didn't get 2 connected to 3 yet, so we'll do that now. So I need to go to the number 2 exit, and by changing it to start with previous, I'm basically telling it, or asking it politely, to leave when number 3 enters the screen. Let's test that. 1 comes on, 2 comes on, and 1 leaves. We already had that done. 3 comes on and 2 leaves. So that's the final link. And then our last one, number 3, leaves. So what I'll show you now, because a lot of times that final number 3 leaving, I don't need to do that because I'm ready to go to my next slide. It's an unnecessary step. So to remove that, again, I'll click that arrow there. Maybe better if I come over here and go to remove. Okay, so let's review what we just accomplished. We're not even working with bullets yet, just images. We brought an image on the screen, and when the next one came on, the other one left. So now you see how I was achieving that earlier when I brought up about 5 images, and every time a new one came on, an old one left, and so on. Now we're gonna combine enter and exit for bullets and pictures. Okay, and again, we'll do this in stages. So let's exit out of that and go to our workspace. And I'm going to remove all this work that I put so much time in so we can rebuild it together. And I don't need to go to my selection pane. I've already changed the names of these, so we're okay there. But you can see by our animation pane over here, that's a clean slate. So let's do our bullet entrances first. Let's choose fly in. I think the effect we were looking for was they're going to come from the bottom and leave to the top. And let's do our, maybe this time I will do all three at once. So I selected all three at once, and we're going to have them fly in from the bottom as well. And I can't remember if I covered this before or not, but you'll see here for the bullets, we're not actually seeing them in our animation pane. That's because they're collapsed and grouped together as a set. If I want to see all of them individually, there's a little double arrow here, and if I click that, the set has revealed itself. I see all three of the animations now. And they have a consistent color behind them. That means they're still linked. If I click one, I've unlinked them. Okay, now you'll see what happened here when I did all three of these together. Number 2 and number 3 are already set at start with previous because I grouped them together. I basically said, when you guys come on, I want you to come on together. We've got full flexibility to change that. As a matter of fact, we will, to make sure we get our final desired effect. Okay, so if we review what we've got real quick, we've got our 3 bullets coming on as I click. Now with this click, we're going to see all 3 images because, again, they're grouped together, which is no surprise. That's what we had told it to do. The first thing we need to do is change the order like we did before. So we want the number 1 picture to come up with the first bullet. So I'm going to click that and drag it up under the first bullet. I'll do the same with number 2. Drag it up under the second bullet. And number 3 is already there. Now we're going to get a bit of a bonus here because number 2 is set at start with previous. So we're not going to change that. We're just going to let it come up. So let's see. So again, if I read this logically, the first bullet is going to come up on a click right there. The first picture is going to come up on a click. We see the mouse and it says on click up here. The second bullet is going to come up on a click. The second picture is going to come up with the second bullet because it's already labeled as start with previous. The third bullet will come up and the third picture will come up with it because, again, it is set as you can see up here, start with previous. So let's give that a little test. So again, those weren't linked yet. Those were. There's number 3. That was linked as well. So let's just clean that up. And our number 1 picture, we'll get that to start with previous. And if I go too fast in these things, the beauty is that you can just go back and replay the video. So we've got those together. They're simultaneously linked. Those are linked, and those are linked. But we're still only halfway there. We still want 1 picture and 1 bullet to exit as the next one comes on. So now we need to start adding exit animations. So basically, we're going to go through a similar process. We're going to add the exit animations. We're probably going to have to reorder the animations to get the flow we want. Then we're going to have to change some of the timings so that a lot of things are happening simultaneously to achieve our final objective. So I'm going to do the bullets first. I'm going to go in front. Remember, I have to add an animation. A lot of people make a mistake here and go straight to, say, an exit animation, not realizing that they just overwrote their entrance. So I'm going to go to fly out, but they're going down. I want them to go up. And I'll do the pictures one at a time. Add animation. I want it to fly out. And I want it to go up. I'll do number 2. Add an animation. Fly out. Sorry that you can't see that behind my head. I want it to go up. And the last one, number 3. And at some point I'll turn off my camera so that you can see the full animation pane. So I'm going to add an animation. And yeah, see, you can't see. Add in an animation. I'm going to choose the exit flying out like I did the others, but I want it to go up. Okay, so we've added a bunch of animations on click, but we're not going to want on click for every one of them, plus our order isn't correct yet. So let's see what it looks like. Excuse me. So we already had these nailed, the entrances, but now our exits, as you see, are all just one at a time, and not anywhere near the order we want. So let's start to change our order. So here's where I'm going to turn my camera off, because as you can expect, that animation pane is getting quite complicated. Goodbye for now. So, and it looks like our text, our bullets are compressed. They're grouped in a set. You can see content placeholder. So I'm going to open that to reveal them all. So now we can see everything, all 12 of our animations. So this first bullet, we are going to want to exit as the second bullet comes in. Likewise with the number 1 picture, we want it to exit at the same time as the bullet. Get in there. Number 1 after number 2. And then number 2 bullet, we want to exit with number 3, and it's pretty close to that anyway. And number 2 picture, we want to exit then as well. And the last 2 are basically left over. That order is fine. So, so again, if we can run through this, and we likely have all the orders correct, we just don't have the links that we want for things to happen simultaneously. It's awfully random right now. So again, we need to approach this logically. We have our first bullet and our first picture come up on click. That's good. As the second bullet comes up, this first bullet leaving has to be with it. So we need to start that on previous. Likewise with the number 1 picture, we don't want it to leave on a click. We want it to leave simultaneously as all the other stuff. We're basically linking 4 animations to 1 click. So we can test that in a second. Well, let's test it right now. So first click, bullet 1 and picture 1 come up. Second click, this should disappear and be replaced by bullet 2 and picture 2. Phew, it worked. Now the rest is still going to be random because we haven't finished that. So let's go finish that. So here now, where bullet 3 comes on, this animation for an exit, we want that to start simultaneously. And the exit of number 2, we also want that to start simultaneously. So this order of animations right now says when I click the third time, bullet number 3 is going to come up, picture number 3 is going to come up, bullet 2 is going to disappear, and number 2 is going to disappear. Let's check it out. I'm going to put my camera on for this one. This is, drum roll please, this is the climax. So one click, bullet 1, this next click, that should disappear and be replaced by all the number 2 stuff. That turned out correct. Now with this next click, the number 2 stuff should leave and be replaced by number 3. It worked. Number 3 is hidden behind me. So you get the picture, and then of course we have 2 ones. Again, those last 2 I probably would just remove the animations because I'm ready to go on to my next slide. I don't need for those to disappear. So let me show you one last interesting effect, because right now we left all those pictures in random sort of places. What I can do now, well, I'll show you the next slide and then I'll show you how I achieved it. So this has all the same animations, but you'll see that the image is landing in the same place, landing and leaving from the same location. To do that, all I did was move the images around and stack them on top of each other. Once you got your animations done, you don't need to worry. So by stacking them like that, I'll go to this one because we're almost done. That's how you can get that illusion of landing and leaving on the same space. Okay, I know that was a lot. I hope you're able to absorb it, but again, the benefit of instructional videos is if you didn't understand something or you need a refresher, you can just go back and replay the video as many times as you want. So, but it is important if we put this in perspective, by controlling your bullets and controlling your pictures, you're controlling your audience. You can do a much more dynamic, creative, compelling presentation by controlling all of the elements on your screen so that the focus remains on you. Remember, the slides are only meant to be support for you or to enhance the speaking points you're trying to make. And by starting to manipulate the text and the images in strategic ways like this, you can do presentations that are much more dynamic, much more compelling, dare I say even much more entertaining. If you can get slides to this point and speak without reading from a script, you've really reached a masterclass level. You will be much more engaging as a speaker. Okay, hope you enjoyed the tips. Good luck with your future presentations.